basically, today's session is meant to give us exposure and insights into the operations and business enablement pillar, as well as the divisions under it for purposes of the Bank of America summer internship application process. Right. So as part of this session, we have announced, two of our distinguished alumni who have also gone through this very process and have been to Bank of America. And they are here to share insights into their own experiences that you can learn from so that you can also employ same in your application process to be able to go through. Right. So we'll kickstart the session right away. All right. So like I said, the session is about the Bank of America program, particularly focusing on the operations and business enablement pillar. And we'll be talking about that largely. There will also be a panel session where the alumni are featured and they'll be speaking extensively about their own experiences as at the time they were applying. There'll also be a Q&A session where all your burning questions can be asked and responded to. So please, you can write down questions that you have in the course of the session so that at the end of the day, you can have them asked. You can also take down notes, which will also be useful to you at the end of the session and for purposes of the application process. All right. So the Bank of America program, what does it entail in terms of the application process and where ACO Africa comes in? So basically at ACO Africa, we conduct multiple stages of selection process to ensure that at the end of the day, we are getting the right people into the program. And once we are able to finish the selection process, that is right from people applying, that is people like yourselves, candidates like yourselves applying, and going through the various stages all through to the selection point. You'll be shortlisted to join what we call the corporate immersion experience. And at that stage, it's largely a training that you'll be offered ahead of you meeting up with the Bank of America team here in Accra, Ghana. That is if you qualify out of the corporate immersion experience stage. All right. Who is qualified or who can apply? You should be graduating in 2028. You should also have demonstrable interest in any of the fields or pillars and divisions, that's one of which is operations and business enablement, which we are talking about today. You should also, in terms of academics, you should also have second class upper and above. All right. What are some of the pillars and divisions under the Bank of America program for this year that you could explore and decide which one to apply to? We have the Global Corporate and Investment Banking, and under it, we have the Investment Banking Division. We also have the Global Markets and Research Institute pillar, and under it, we have the Global Markets Division. We also have the Technology and Data Analytics pillar, under which we have Global Technology as the division. And we have Operations and Business Enablement pillar, which we are talking about today. And under it, we have the Global Payment Solution, we have Chief People Organization and Operations. So for purpose of the application process and to sort of enlighten you to know which, to be able to have much information on the various pillars and divisions so you can make an informed decision as to which area to apply to. We have outlined these sessions, which started sometime on Monday this week. So we had the general info session, which was basically broad exposure to all the areas and aspects of the program. We also had the Global Corporate and Investment Banking session, which was on Tuesday. We also had the Global Markets and Research Institute session, which was on Wednesday, that's yesterday, or 2 days ago. And then we have the Technology and Data Analytics pillar as well, which we discussed yesterday, actually. Today, we are talking about operations and business enablement, focusing on global payment solutions and chief people organization. And tomorrow, Saturday, we'll be covering operations and business enablement again, but focusing on operations division. So I'll entreat you. You have already joined for this session. So that of tomorrow too, please mark your calendars and join during that time. That is 6 p.m. GMT. Okay, so we are right here. We are at the panel discussion stage. So we have, like I said, we have two of our distinguished alumni who have gone through this very Bank of America process, and they are here to share their experience with us. So we have Elizabeth Afari and Beatrice Kabu in our midst who will be speaking shortly. So like I said, please listen very well and jot down your questions that you can ask at the end of the day. Thank you very much. Elizabeth, my colleague, will be taking over. Thank you.
Thank you, Chika. Hi, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another panelist discussion. And leave this time I'll start off simple. Let's give a round of applause to our panelists who will be joining us for today. Elizabeth Afari, who is a product analyst at Bank of America and a member of the SU Africa 2024 class. She will be joined by Beatrice Kabu, who is a human resource analyst at Bank of America, and she is part of the SU Africa 2023 class. A round of applause as they join me here. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Beatrice.
Hi, can you hear me?
Perfectly. How are you doing?
I'm
Hi,
good, thank you.
can you hear
Hi,
me?
Beatrice. Oh, yeah. I
I'm
can hear
good.
you now, Elizabeth. How are you also doing?
No, I'm fine, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great as well. So let's dive in. Before we start, can you tell the panelists, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how your journey looks like? I think I'll start with you, Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Elizabeth Afari. Just like was said earlier, I'm a product analyst in GPS America. Before that, I graduated from the University of Ghana, where I studied accounting. So in terms of my journey, I also went through a similar process that is being advertised now by SEO. Going to the SEO program during my internship at Bank of America. Basically, in the first semester of my fourth year, after which I got the offer, I came back home. I actually joined the team last year in April. So it's been barely over a year, but it's really been good. And I'm really excited to be here to share what I have with you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's great to have you here as well. I will pass it over to Beatrice so she shares a little bit about her journey as well. Hi, Beatrice.
Hi, can you hear me? Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for the introduction. My name is Beatrice Kabu. As mentioned, I am a human resources analyst at Bank of America. I was a part of the ACU class of 2023 when I was in my third year. That was when I got my internship. I went to university in Ashesi University, graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration. I, for one, did not go through the traditional SEO recruitment process, but then SEO did pick me up upon accepting my offer into B of A, and I went through their training process as well. But I'm very excited to be here to share my journey and share any insights that I can give. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice, and thank you both for taking time to join us today. So let's dive straight into the questions. For my first question, this will go to both of you, but I will start with Elizabeth. Before we dive in, can you describe what working in your division actually feels like day to day and tell us why you chose your division?
I mean, on a day-to-day for a normal like 9 to 5 job, I get in early in the morning, just try to settle down, get my to-do list, I actually have to do for the day. I just go through them. And also working as a product analyst, most of the projects are like timeline based. you just have one or two things coming out, which are like urgent to be completed that day. But for most of my projects would be like within a period of time. So I just have to make sure I'm keeping a to-do list to keep track of them, just so that I'm working with the many projects that I have at the same time. And when the deadline are due, I can start. In terms of GPS and why GPS for me, I mean, when I was doing my search about like when I heard about the internship program and which division I wanted to apply to, I saw a couple of them. I saw like markets, I saw investment banking. And then for me, GPS just stick with me, maybe because of my accounting background and like hearing things about liquidity, about payments. It just made sense for me. And then in addition to that, I attended the Bank of America Insight Day here in Ghana. And then for that session, I signed up for GPS and then global markets. I attended the GPS session, which was good. I attended markets. I was like, markets definitely not for me. That's how come I ended up in GPS. But then on a day-to-day, how it looked like GPS, I think generally GPS really has a very good culture. I mean, at the bank as a whole, but then people are just like really nice, open to answer your questions, ready to help you. So it really just makes it worthwhile. And for me, after my internship, I guess it's a place I wanted to work on to come back to.
Okay, okay. Thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth. And over to you, Beatrice. What made you choose your division and what does your day-to-day look like?
Thank you for the question. No 2 days are the same for me. I'll start with that, but I guess they follow a similar pattern. But for me, when you enter Bank of America as an analyst within HR, you do rotations, and it's something that I'm really glad I get the opportunity to do because one thing you find out when you enter any global institution like Bank of America is that HR is very broad. There are so many teams that make up the one unit we see. So I'm doing rotations within different teams, but generally my day involves a lot of thinking around what can I offer to the team, right? And a lot of shadowing that I do because I'm still in the early stages of my career and role in the bank. Maybe not too early, but quite early, right? I'm still learning. So just a lot of observing, right? And one thing that you learn is that HR is different in every institution. So one thing I'm doing is learning how HR works in Bank of America. And as always, a lot of team member engagement, right? Because as an analyst, you want to be known out there. You want to, meet a lot of people. And like I mentioned, there's so many people in the team, so many people who have different things to offer. So my day is very dynamic. I cannot sit and list all the things I get to do, but these are just the general themes that my day takes. Why I chose HR. I studied business administration. I had a holistic degree. I did a bit of finance, a bit of marketing, competitive strategy, investments, but I was never one for the math side. I was always leaning towards the people side. So when I saw the opportunity to apply, I just figured that's something I would love to do, right? Be in a space where I can impact people, right? If I cannot directly be involved with the businesses, what I can do is be involved with the people that are in these businesses. But yeah, that's how I came into HR.
Interesting, interesting. Moving on to the next question. This will be going to Beatrice. HR in a global bank is very different from HR in a typical company, right? So what does strategic HR actually look like inside Bank of America? And how does it differ from what most students imagine when they hear human resources?
Thank you so much for that question. I would be the first to debunk the notion that HR is only hiring and firing and salaries. Like you mentioned, it's strategic, right? And HR is much broader than we think, especially in a financial institution, a global financial institution, right? It goes beyond, like I mentioned, just the admin tasks to, thinking around long-term development plannings, around talent, around leadership, and the culture, right? The overall culture of the businesses, and it involves working more closely with the businesses than we think. A lot of people think it's just, sitting at the back, going through CVs, pay this person, pay that person, but it goes beyond that. There's a lot of analytical thinking and critical thinking and just evaluation and strategy that's involved in that, right? Because what we aim to do is to provide the businesses we work with the right people. And when these people come in, how are we making them better than they came in, right? How are we making them better suited for what's ahead, right? So it goes beyond, like I mentioned, the admin task to just a broader way of thinking around people development, which feeds into the success of the company and just create an environment for everyone to succeed and ultimately the company to succeed. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. That's like a holistic view of HR. And I like how you shared these insights so that our audience today understand what HR is at that level. Moving on to our next question. This will be going to Elizabeth. So, Elizabeth, cross-border payments involve dozens of moving parts between currencies, regulations, correspondent banks, and also time zones. Walk us through what a single transaction actually looks like from your end and where your role sits in that chain.
Thanks, Elizabeth, for the question. Can you confirm for me if you can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So that's a very broad question. Like payment in itself requires a lot. So for every region, like every country, there are like payment structures that work. For example, in the UK, we have some payment schemes, like the three main payment schemes that which has to do with more high volume transactions that get settled within the same day, like within 24 hours. And then there's also faster payments. And then faster payment is like more real time based. For example, if I send a transaction to Beatrice, like Beatrice will literally receive it seconds within when I send it to her. So that's real time. And then there's also bugs that takes like a day or two to settle. So in terms of how a typical transaction would look like, I'll try and break it into three. So like if anyone on the call today does not remember anything from a payment transaction, just remember for a payment transaction, there's like three main parts. There's the payment instruction, there's the clearance, and then there's the settlement. So the payment instruction is literally like when you tell your bank someone else, or a payment instruction from your banking app to pay someone else. That's literally like a payment instruction you're giving. Your bank gives that instruction to the payment scheme, whichever of the three that I mentioned, or it could be different in other jurisdictions, but literally the payment scheme would then interact with like other banks or whichever banks your transaction is being made to. And then really the payment scheme goes through the instruction is verified to see if you have enough funds in your account, is then transferred to whoever you are actually making the payment to. And that's when the payment is settled. So literally there's the instruction, there's the clearing, and then there's the settlement. So aside the normal payments, like going through those three channels, there's also other forms of payments like the card payments where you have a credit card. You literally like make a payment through your credit card. It could be physically with a credit card, tapping it onto a POS system, or maybe you make a transaction from like your Apple account or like your card. The card system also has its own rules that it goes through. There's like the card network, which is like Visa, MasterCard. So within GPS, that's where I sit. I work on the commercial card team. Basically, that looks like we giving credit cards to our clients. And one thing about GPS is GPS exists to serve the needs of for like big corporations. And for treasurers, they are concerned about various like lots of things. They are concerned about having visibility into like their finances, knowing where their money is at a particular point in time. They are also concerned about being able to make payments when they actually need to, and also receiving payments into their account. As part of those concerns, another concern they like something that they really want to have solutions to at every point in time is working capital. What that actually looks like is having access to funds which is not directly drawn from their accounts today, but then they have access to that money, use it for what they want, and then pay the bank back like at a future date. So that's what we do. We literally issue cards to like corporations. It could be credit cards. So if you work for like SEO and SEO gives you a card, that card is issued by a bank. And that would literally be what my team does, issuing those cards to corporations, being it corporate card or maybe B2B cards where they are paying like their suppliers for any payment that they make. So that's where I sit within GPS, but like more broadly, payments, it's broad. There's various forms of payments. There's the payment schemes that I spoke about, and then there's commercial card as another form of payment.
Interesting. That's great to hear. And I love how you took time to break it down to really explain it to our audience today. Moving on, Beatrice, this question is for you. Talent acquisition at Bank of America is highly competitive. From the inside, what genuinely separates candidates who get through from those who don't? And what is it that applicants think it is?
Um, I wish I had a I don't know, a
That one
very
is packed.
certain, yeah. But thank you so much for the question. I will do my best to give what I know, but I will start with saying that it is not about your grades. That's one thing I can say. It goes beyond your grades and even beyond like a perfect CV, right? What makes a candidate stand out is their ability to communicate these experiences that they've done, right? Are you able to tell your story beyond the action points or the bullet points on your CV? Are you able to tell the impacts and the results of those things, right? And I think one thing that helps as well is the ability to show curiosity and adaptability. Because especially when you're applying for an entry level role, recruiters and the company, they know that, you don't know everything. You have something to offer, but most importantly, you're willing to learn. So can you show that? And also being able to show that you're a team player, because at the end of the day, you're going to sit by people, you're going to work in teams. And one thing that Bank of America prides itself in is the people and the team culture, right? So you have to show that, you're a team player. You have to show your skills in teamwork, right? And people have probably heard this a lot of times, but you have to be authentic. You have to be your authentic self, right? Because ultimately you have to show up as you are in the office. And if you are not your your truest self throughout the interview process or your candidacy process, it's going to reflect at some point, right? So right from the onset, I would say try and be your authentic self and tell your story as much as you can. And yeah, can only hope for the best.
Amazing insights. I like that. Be authentic, everyone, and actually show impact. Moving on, this question will be going to Elizabeth. Payment infrastructure is changing fast. Real-time rules and digital currencies. How is GPS at Bank of America adapting, and what does that mean for someone entering the division today?
Hmm. Thanks very much again for that question, Elizabeth. And what I'm going to say on that question is generally in the payment world, there are like new regulations coming up every day. and especially for a global bank like Bank of America, which does not operate in just one region, but then working globally. Even the regulations becomes even more. So with regulations coming up every now and then, the aim and the approach is then at the end of the day is to ensure that we actually meeting those requirements. And then again, ultimately, keep payments as seamless as possible for our clients. Like basically, I mean, it's not so loud in Ghana or like in Nigeria, but in the UK here, we all have access to like our bank accounts and payments are made directly to our bank account. You hardly like visit your bank branch, you can literally do everything online. And payments is very real time, like literally when I see it in seconds. And even with like Momo or POS back at home, if somebody sends you money, does it take so long? The aim is that with those experiences that we experience as individual consumers, making sure corporates also get to experience those kind of seamless payments, making it real time as much as we can, but at the same time, making sure it's within the regulatory requirements. We are like not breaking any rules or bounds. And then I would say for someone looking to get into like how should we be thinking about these regulations and how should that person be looking at? I would say really just being curious about the payment systems in general and how they work. Like, Beatrice said earlier, like HR is not expecting you to know everything. Obviously, you should be willing, you should be able to show your interest in the division and like know certain things about the division. You are not expected to know every single thing. So you could know about the payment systems, like I spoke about CHAPS, I spoke about banks. You could know about how payments works, how transaction flows goes through. You could know about like how GPS in itself is of the needs of treasuries. So those things help. And I guess ideally, or like in conclusion, what I'm saying is you don't necessarily have to know about every single regulation that's going on. But really just have a general idea of those regulations and like how payments.
Okay, Elizabeth, sometimes your voice fades off a little, but it's sometimes clear, sometimes it fades a little. I wanted to draw your
That's
attention
really
to that.
unfortunate. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. I think you need to be quite close to your camera for your microphone for it to come out clear.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, it's quite
So
clear
did
now.
you get my answer? Or, like I need to repeat it again.
Yeah, we heard you, but if you want to take it again, so that is fine.
Yeah, I said a lot of stuff, but basically what I'm saying is payments is broad. The regulations are a lot, like, and especially as a global bank, we are not even one region. We are working with like the US region, we are working with EMEA, and you mentioned cross payments like initially. We just have to make sure we are actually, whatever we do, how seamless we make payments for our clients, we are meeting all these regulatory requirements. So for someone looking to like break into GPS, like Beatrice said earlier, HR is not expecting you to know every single thing. It's more about just showing curiosity about the division, learning about like how payments work, getting to know a little bit about some of these payment infrastructures and how transactions just flow on a very high level. Like you don't need to know into details, then that should actually be okay.
Amazing, amazing. Moving on to the next part. Thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth. Moving on to the next part. This question goes to Beatrice, and it says OBE is often described as the engine room of the bank. For students who want a career with real impact but don't want to be in front office roles, why should OBE be their first choice, not their backup?
I'm very sad if a role in this this division is a backup for you, but I think the answer really is in the question, right? All the roles in this division, be it CPO, payments, operations, they really are the driving force of the bank, right? Although we operate behind the scene, it's highly impactful, it's highly analytical. It's very strategic, right? A company, any company, right? Maybe I'm speaking more for CPO roles, but any company is the success of any company is dependent on the people. And however well you're able to manage the people, however well you're able to bring the right people in will determine the success of the company. So I think if you're considering this, I really hope it's a first choice for you because it allows you to combine business strategy with people development and people impact, right? You're able to enjoy working on things that involve problem solving, systems improvements, and operations and relating with people, right? All of which are very important. And I believe firmly that anyone who enjoys these things that I've mentioned can build a very strong career, especially if you don't always want to be in the traditional front office role. OBE is a great place to start. I would encourage everyone to at least give it a try, and you might just stay forever.
Indeed, you might just stay forever. Thank you for sharing that, Beatrice. Moving on to the next question. This will be going to Elizabeth. What's a mistake or gap in knowledge you had early in your career that surprised you, and how did you close it? Very interesting question there.
That's very interesting. Like when I think about knowledge gap now, I would say there was a lot. I mean, when I was doing my application, I learned a lot about GPS, like what the role is, what is involved. But you get within and you realize it's really way more than you knew. There's only as much as you can find online, but you get on your day-to-day job and you realize you need a lot. One thing I realize is it's really learning on the job. I mean, your skills and experience matter, like what you learned in school. But at the end of the day, is your ability to take in things fast and then be willing and courageous enough to apply them. Like it doesn't even matter what you studied in school so far as you are able to easily translate information into like practical steps, then you should be good to go. And then also in GPS, like there's a place for everyone. There's I do product, there's also sales, there's also like the data analytics team, there's also a team for like the graphic designing. Anything you find on GPS online, there's like a whole team that will describe. So I would say the knowledge gap for me, it was a lot, like understanding payments even in itself. Like I was talking about the schemes. Like I knew GPS existed to help treasurers make sure that at the end of the day, when they need money, whatever liquidity they needed, they have it available to them as and when needed. But then I didn't really know. I knew about payments. I didn't know even commercial card was going to be like other form of payments like that. There will be an entire team for it. I also realized how important like your Excel and your PowerPoints are because every day we are, especially for products, we are creating like documentation for the sales team, for the clients. You also need your Excel to, because for as a product manager, you are responsible for your specific product in terms of enabling sales to understand it better to sell it for you. But then you are also responsible for the revenue part of your product. So then before you make any decision, you would have actually like analyzed everything in there. So your Excel really becomes handy. PowerPoint is important. Like literally every little skill could be important, like your people management skill, your ability to like learn on the job, like I mentioned earlier. So yeah, I hope I answered the question, but in conclusion, I guess every skill you have or everything you know is important for the job.
Amazing. Every little skill matters. Great insights there, Elizabeth. Moving on to the next question. This will be going to Beatrice. And the question goes, the world of finance is changing rapidly. AI, automation, and digital transformation are reshaping every function. How is that shift showing up in your specific role today? And what are the skills students absolutely must develop now in order to stay relevant in your division?
Thank you so much for that question. Like you mentioned, a lot of things are changing, and one thing that I would start with is to stay abreast, right, with the new things that's happening. Because once you work in a financial institution, no matter the division you are in, you need to know what's happening in the finance world. And things like AI, it's changing every day. The AI we have today is not going to be the AI we have tomorrow, right? So I think that first of all, you need to know what's out there, right? Even for HR, we found that the division is becoming very more very data driven, right? And our systems are changing, right? We're looking at ways to use AI more efficiently, right? To make our processes seamless, right? And you have to know about these technologies. That's the first thing, right? And be comfortable with them. You have to learn how to maximize them the best way you can, right? And I think that's the first thing. Also, like I mentioned, adaptability, right? You don't be conservative around the AI, you have to open up to the new things that's coming, right? And much as AI is going to do a lot for the things we do in terms of efficiency, speed, and everything, the human bits cannot be taken away. Things like critical thinking, right? There's a level of innovation that we as humans have that AI may, I say may because you never know, but may never have. But you just have to build on that, right? Your ability to think in a way that it's sort of outside of the box, right? Much as you're letting AI do certain things for you, you have to apply critical thinking, right? And obviously, you have to be very detail oriented. And it translates into how you use AI because it will feed into your prompts and even the results you get, right? How do you analyze that to make sure AI is giving you the right things you need? But ultimately, I'll say be comfortable with the new technologies. That's the only way you can use them and use them well.
Be comfortable with the new technology. Thank you for sharing that, Beatrice. Elizabeth, I have a question for you, similar to Beatrice's own. How is AI changing your division and your role?
Mm, Thanks, Elizabeth, for the question. Like when I say thanks, Elizabeth, it feels like I'm gonna. I mean, it's very similar to what Beatrice said. Like AI is being really adopted widely in the bank and within the division. It's being encouraged to accept it and not like be conservative about it. And then in terms of how it's um affecting our division or affecting the way we do it, there's much emphasis on leveraging AI to start various processes and what we do. Like literally, what would spend here about an hour or two doing it. Actually, leveraging AI, like just being explorative about it, explore it and seeing how best you can use it to cut down on the hours you would like typically use to complete a task. So there's much emphasis on a day-to-day basis. So I would say it's good to generally it's good to like be very open to it, accept it, and use it in your day to day. Another thing that I would add, like this more very general from my perspective, because I had like a very long conversation with a friend about AI and how some people are just very conservative about it just because people feel like using AI today prevents lots of us from actually thinking, which is true. But then that does not mean you would adopt to like not using AI at all, because at the end of the day, AI is a thing now. So then what would be good for us is really like finding the middle ground and the balance as to using AI, yes, but actually using it with understanding, like which humans in the critical thinking part, understanding for the input it's giving you, having like very good prompt engineering skills, giving it the right content to actually produce the result you expected. So really like accepting AI, it's good. It's really be accepted in education and used to enhance our processes and just literally make our day-to-day even better.
Mm, Amazing insights, amazing insights. Thank you, Elizabeth. And for the next question, I would like you to reflect on your journey a little more to give an answer. And I'll start with Beatrice. As an African professional navigating a global institution, were there moments where your background became an unexpected strength? And how did you lean into that?
Thank you so much for that question. I think even, packing up and moving to a different country is a strength on its own, right? And that's something that I'm still learning to do, building a home away from home. That's something that, you learn as you go, right? But definitely growing up, I schooled in Ghana, I've lived in Ghana my whole life, only moved here for the job. And we're built different, in Ghana, Nigeria, it's a different thing. And I didn't even know that some of these skills were things that I was being taught until I came here and I saw them, manifesting, right? But there's a lot of resilience that I think I've learned, or I think I have now from just how I grew up and where I grew up, right? And just the ability to be resourceful with what I have, right? And just, you know, being tough, because in a corporate world you need to be tough. In the corporate world outside of the country you've known, you need to be even more tough, right? And these are things that I've seen translate very well into a global workspace, right? Because I believe I come with very unique ways of thinking or unique perspective and unique experiences, right? Because much as you're here to work, you're working with people and we all have different stories. And my story, I think, offers something new, right? It adds to my brand and I think I'm learning to see it as an advantage and something I bring to the table rather than, just hiding away from it or just, putting it aside or building a different persona, right? I am African. I can't change that. But yeah.
Amazing, amazing to hear. Elizabeth, I have the same question for you. As an African professional navigating a global institution, were there moments where you also thought your background became an unexpected strength? And how did you lean into that?
Yeah, no, thanks, Elizabeth. And I feel like very similar to Beatrice. Like I also schooled in Ghana my whole life and literally moved to the UK just for work. And like she said, like there's a lot of things being African teaches you. Like even moving on its own to a whole continent, like not even just a different country, but a whole continent or a whole different continent, finding home there. It just teaches you resilience and resilience really help at the right place because like you are learning something new every day. You don't need the same thing every day. You really need to be resilient and ready to learn. And then also it just gives you a different perspective because obviously you are different. I feel like we are not it's not just Africans that are from different places. They are like other um group of people here, but then maybe they may have like similar stories. You may be having an entirely different perceptions to like the world in general and how things operate. So I feel that aspect of us or of me being African helps me to bring something or even think in an entirely different perspective and adding that bit of it to whatever the team is communicating or whatever project that you are working on.
Great insights there, Elizabeth. And we are about wrapping up. I have one final question to both of you. And I'm going to start with Beatrice on this one. Sorry about that. If a student in this session decides tonight that they want to build a career in either in HR at a global bank, what is the single most important thing they should do in the next 10 days?
That's a very good question. Um, if you change your mind tonight, I would like to believe that I convinced you. But in the next 10 days, I think I'll piggyback off on something Elizabeth mentioned earlier about every skill matters, right? What I would say is start building your story now, right? Start building your brand now. One thing that will always follow you wherever you find yourself is your brand. And what will get you in those places is the story you have to tell. So start doing that intentionally, as little as updating your LinkedIn. You think people don't check that out, but they do. And it matters more than you think, right? So update that, network with people. When a lot of times when we mention networking, people, always allude to networking with, the people at the top places, right? But one thing I've come to learn is that the people around me, my peers, have a lot to offer, which makes sense because in the next 20, 30, 50 years, we are going to be the people at the top, right? And now they still have a lot of things to offer. So network with people, network with your peers, like talk to people beyond surface level, like reach out to people about things, right? And identify your transferable skills. Like Elizabeth mentioned, every little skill matters. And if for now, you have experiences that, you think are irrelevant, you can put in ChatGPT. Hi, I have this experience that helped me identify my transferable skills. You realize that there are so many things you're learning through, so many things that you don't even realize are transferable, right? So start that. And ultimately, whatever you decide to do to build yourself in the next 10 days, be consistent and stay curious because sometimes consistency is what gets you there. You might not have everything figured out now, but be consistent at what you're doing and be really good at that. And yeah, that's what I have to say.
Amazing words there, Beatrice. I really like the part about consistency and always working hard to get what you want. Thank you for sharing that. So, Elizabeth, you'll be closing us for this panel discussion. What Let me rephrase it. If a student in this session tonight decides they want to build a career in global payment solution, what is the single most important thing they should start doing within the next 10 days?
Wow. No, thanks for the question. Like, I feel like Beatrice has said it all, and most of the things that I'm going to say will be just emphasizing whatever she said again. I feel curiosity is key and really being open-minded and actually being genuinely interested in the division. So I can't give like a single most important thing, but like just the LinkedIn bit is very important. Just keep a good brand of yourself online. And then again, approach payments more broadly. Like go to Bank of America website, type in GPS, see what the website says about GPS they are selling to clients. From there, try to like read more about whatever you see there. And I guess the more you read, the more information you get about like what clients need and what is being provided. And then you can literally use AI to give it a good prompt. If you are in GPS, what solution would you be typically offering? What skills should you have today to help you? Yeah, basically just being curious, learning broadly about the vision and just reading stuff online.
Be curious, explore your division, and always keep learning. Thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of this panel discussion. I know many of you have questions. I can see some hands up already. I'll pass it over to my colleague, Chika, to handle the next segment of this program, that is the Q&A. Hi, Chika.
Hi, Elizabeth. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly.
Very well. Thank you. And thank you to Beatrice and Elizabeth for the very wonderful information you have shared with our audience. I believe they've learned a lot and they'll be using that in the application process. All right. So at this stage, we are at the Q&A session. So if you have a question, please raise your hand and then I'll call you to ask your question. All right. I can see Victor. Victor, please unmute and speak.
Thank you very much, Chika. And I really want to appreciate Beatrice and Elizabeth for this session. So, quick question. I know that for divisions like technology, the assessments, the technical assessments from SCO Africa and maybe translating to Bank of America is usually like lead code tests and programming tests, I guess. So I just want to know for business enablement division, what should we look out for in the technical assessments stage? What are the things we should prepare for really? I'm just curious to know that. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Victor, for your question. That is not something I can share broadly. What I would rather encourage is that please research the pillar and the divisions under it. I mean, like they mentioned, I think some of them, either Beatrice or Elizabeth mentioned ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT, just research, questions that you could face within the divisions and the pillar of operations and business enablement. I believe that would be very useful in terms of knowing some of the questions you could face. Yeah. All right. Ledama, I hope I got your name right. Robert, okay.
Yes,
Please
yes,
speak
okay. Thank you, Sika, and I want to really thank Beatrice and Elizabeth for the grateful insight. My question was on the bit of application. I come from Nairobi, Kenya. If I've not mentioned that, but I was just curious about there's a slot where it says current academic standard, academic standing. I was wondering how do you apply that because for the Kenyan curriculum we don't have the grading as per now. If you're continuing students until when we graduate, maybe in the final year, which is 2028, is when we'll get our evaluation. How do I proceed from there?
Okay. So if I got your question right, I mean, based on your school's academic structure, you don't have gradings, right, for your semesters and to final year. Is that correct?
For now, we don't have the final grading, which is the first class or the second class upper.
Okay. So in that case, I will still encourage you to apply. So you can just go ahead and apply. When it gets to us, a determination will be made.
What slots should I pick from there?
What do you mean by slots?
The options which are being given, which is the first class and the second class.
Okay, I think there'll be there's a portion for order, so you can choose the order and then or if you can choose the order and then write whatever you have to write there, and then there's also a comment section where you can indicate your specific situation. So in this case, while you are narrating, you can I mean indicate that as a comment, so we have a good understanding of what your situation is, and then at the end of the day we can make a decision. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm guided.
Very well. Emmanuel.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Chika. And then thank you, Elizabeth and Beatrice. So I have two questions. First, I want to know how we can access the recordings for previous sessions. I don't know if they are available. Then, secondly, at the beginning of this session, I think you mentioned that the last phase of the selection process will be meeting at Accra, something like that. So I really want to understand. I'm very new to this whole process. So I'd love to understand if how it's going to be for Nigerians. And so, please, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So your last question is about how you get to Accra in the event that you get to the corporate immersion stage. Yes, so that's wouldn't be a burden on you, right? So yours is to just go through the application process. Once you are successful and you are selected and you join the corporate immersion, and you also, emerge out of that stage. You'll be able to come to Accra. It will not be a burden on you, so don't worry about that.
Okay, then the
Yes,
recordings.
what's the first question? Okay, the recordings. Check on our YouTube channel, SU Africa YouTube channel.
Okay, I checked earlier today. I couldn't find out of yesterday.
Okay, so send us an email and we can reach out to you on that. Perhaps we can send you the recordings.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much.
Very, very well. EJ, please speak. AJ, please speak.
Sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. I just have a few questions. So basically, I want to know more about graduate scheme roles at Bank of America. For like companies in the UK. So I'm in the UK at the moment. So I just want to know how graduate scheme roles are, like the process and basically everything. If there are like tips you'd like to share.
I'm not too sure. You said graduate what? I didn't get the other side.
Graduate scheme. That's like graduate scheme roles, like internship.
All right.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. So which of you want to respond? Beatrice?
Sorry,
Or
could you
Elizabeth?
just, yeah, I can, but if you don't mind rephrasing just the beginning bit of the question.
Okay.
Yes, so, okay. Yes, please go ahead again.
So basically, I've heard of Bank of America. So I stay in the UK and I would like to like make applications. So I'm about to graduate, right? And I would like to start my application for graduate roles early. So I just want to get like tips on how I could like stand out in applications, how my CV can be personalized. Yes. And also in the technology space. I don't know if you understand the question.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much for rephrasing it.
Yeah.
I can't speak much for the technology space, but I do know it involves a lot of coding assessment. So, yeah, that's what I know. But I guess essentially you just have to make sure that your CV is as clear as possible, but not only in numbers, but in impacts, right? And in terms of standing out, I think in the application process, what you should aim to do is put your best foot forward in the documents you submit, ensure that there are no little errors, right? Because in the beginning, you want to make sure that you're eliminating things that will take you out as much as you can, right? So just ensure that you're submitting the right documents, you're putting in relevant experiences, right? First things first, which I should have mentioned earlier, is to read on the bank. Almost everything that you need to find out is on the company's website. If you're advertising for the role, the job description will be there. And now that life is easier with AI, you could put your CV in ChatGPT, put the job description in ChatGPT, ask it to do an analysis. If I submitted this CV for this job, do you think I'll get it? Based on that response, what do you think I can do to make my CV better? Obviously, don't lie, but ChatGPT will give you recommendations, right, on how to align your CV to the job role. But for now, research as much as possible on the company, on the role, even beyond the website. You can just try and Google out if you want to be in the tech space and it says business analyst. What does a business analyst do, even outside of Bank of America? Try and find out more of those things and just aim to align your CV and your experiences to the role as much as possible. And then from there, the interviewing process, the tips will obviously be different in terms of communicating, but I'll just say once you move past the candidacy process and move to the interview stage, just try your best to say your story as much as you can. Focus on the impacts and just Yeah, be very conversational and very, very personable. That's what I can share for now. You can also search up people who work within the division that you're applying for on LinkedIn who are in Bank of America and try reaching out to them on LinkedIn as well. They will be able to provide tailored support. But yeah, that's my share. All the best as well in your applications.
Thank you.
And
Yeah,
sorry,
please go ahead.
just to add to that, like in terms of tips, I'll just say during your interview, especially, just be very authentic and conversational. Like let your interviewer be on just answering questions and like asking questions and answering them. And also after your interview, after everything is said and done, like try to ask a question or two genuinely, and that would mean you would have done your research earlier, like Beatrice says, you have kind of things to think about and questions to ask during your interview. But it really, really does pays going in prepared research, like having questions you would want to ask after your interview.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Beatrice and Elizabeth. Alabi Farouk, please ask your question.
Okay, can you hear me? Good evening. Thank you very much for the insight. I'm audible.
Yes, please speak. Please go ahead.
So, um,
Farouk, we have a
after this
difficulty hearing you.
do the application, forget the interview, the online application.
Hi, Farouk. We have a difficulty hearing you. You may text your question. I mean, write it in the chat, and we'll respond to it. We have a difficulty hearing you. Let's go to Angelo. Angelo, please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for
me now.
Farouk, I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you. Or you can type your question in the chat. We'll respond to it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Angelo, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you for your opportunity and for the insights. I have two questions. And can you share with us why Bank of America is looking for African graduates through this program? And the second one is about networking. Sometimes we add people on LinkedIn, but they don't add we back, or we write them and they don't reply us. And what can we do in that case? Me, I am Angelo Dalmeda, and I cannot go through SU Africa program because I'm currently in France in a master management program. So I will apply to it somewhere lonely. So what can I do from now? Thank you.
Okay. So one question was about why Bank of America is, taking interns from Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure what you expect, but I mean, I believe the idea is just to build, their talent base out of Africa. Yeah, I think that's just it. So I don't think that should be your priority, actually. Just put forward the application and apply. That's what is important. That's what I was saying. Yeah, but I believe, broadly, it's just, a way of, getting a lot of talent out of Africa to support their own operations. Yeah. There's a question about email. Did you say when you send emails, you don't get feedback? Did you say that?
Yeah, it is more on LinkedIn. Yeah.
On LinkedIn to
Yeah.
ACU Africa?
No, not to SU Africa, but about networking. When we add people working at Bank of America. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I get what you mean. I think so that's about networking on social media. I don't know if any of them want to speak to it. Yeah, but I think you just have to probably keep following up and then try to ensure that you have a good connection with them. Yeah, but I don't know if Beatrice or Elizabeth want to speak on that.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to take the LinkedIn. That's
Yeah,
very
please go
nice.
ahead.
But then I also think, like, imagine, many a time when people do sessions like this, like there are lots of people who reach out to them, or even on LinkedIn, when someone finds out to work in a particular division, there are lots of people who reach out to them. And obviously, there's just this one person who has to reply lots of messages from all these other people. So my tip is anytime you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, don't go into their DM and say hi and expect them to reply back to you with like, hi, how are you doing? Like just go, it's pays when you go into someone's DM and just say hi, introduce yourself, tell them what you are doing and what you actually need from them. That way there's a higher chance of getting a reply. And it's not as if people don't intentionally like decide to not reply to your messages, but then there's so much in their DMs and they'll obviously prioritize those that whose ask are very straightforward and like give them the opportunity to actually help them. So in conclusion, I'll just say anytime you reach out to someone on LinkedIn, just introduce yourself, tell them what you are doing, how like you've seen their profile and what you think they can help you with. And that would really give you a high chance of someone actually getting back to you.
Okay, thank you. I will do so, and I also add you on LinkedIn. I will do so. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Beatrice. Nancy. Yes, Nancy, please unmute and ask your question.
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for this session. My question is regarding my CV for the application process. Would you advise me putting a future role because I have accepted an internship, but it's going to begin in July, sorry. So can I still put that on my CV for the SEO application? Thank you.
Okay. So if it is a role you are yet to start, so first of all, I will encourage you to check our website. We have a CV template there called your Obing CV. So if you check our website, you'll see it. It will be very helpful for you in crafting or putting together your CV better. Future roles, I'm not too sure if you can include that, but I think it's a personal decision. Because if it is a role you are yet to join, then it means that you haven't worked there, you have not undertaken any, activities there yet. So I'm not even sure what you are going to write. Aside writing the name of the company, I'm not sure exactly what you will write. So I will not advise that you add it as of now.
Thank you so much.
Sarah, please unmute and speak. Sarah, please speak.
Hello, good evening.
Sarah, yes, we can hear you.
So I want to ask, does having maybe an internship experience in product management or treasury management, does it boost your application? Does it give you a higher chance of being chosen for the GPS division?
Okay. Any of you want to respond to that? Elizabeth?
Yeah, I feel like that's a very GPS specific question. I mean, obviously your CVs and your experiences are meant to boost your application. So I may answer a yes to that question, but then I also feel like because there's way more than just product management in GPS. Yeah, I mentioned earlier there are lots of roles. There's sales, there's data analytics, there's bid management, etc. So basically, and I've also said every little experience counts. So you may not need to have a product management specific experience to get into GPS or you mentioned something else. Treasury, yes, specific experience to get into GPS, but obviously that boosts your application. I also feel like ultimately after you submitted your documents, you've gone to AI and after submitting your CV and your letters during your interview, it's more about what you tell them about the question more than what is just on your CVs and stuff. So my question to that answer is it may be a yes, but not a definite yes. Every experience matters and way beyond just product management.
All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. Richard, do you want to add something?
No, I think she answered the question very well. Thank you.
Very well, all right. Thank you. Emmanuel, please unmute and ask your question.
Good evening.
We can hear you. Good evening.
Okay, good evening. I'm Emmanuel. My question is that can a recent graduate still apply for the summer internship program?
Okay. So when you say recent graduate, so like I said, to be eligible, you should be graduating in 2028 for the internship. Yes, that's for the summer internship.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Okay, so I believe all the questions, all the hands I can see, you have asked your questions. So I'll go to the comments. I can see Farouk has put his questions there. Is it after the application we have the interview? Yes, it is after you have applied. Obviously, if you don't apply, we won't know you. So you have to start applying first. And then when you apply and you go through the various stages, then you get to the interview stage. Interested in data analysis in the technology pillar, but I'm not really that experienced, but I have worked with data in Canaipa. So I encourage that you, learn more about the pillar and about the divisions. You can take courses, just try to build your competencies in that area. And I'm sure you can definitely apply there. I'll be graduating in 2027. If that's a limitation, yes, you can apply, but the eligibility is largely for 2028 graduates. All right. Okay, so I think that is all for the questions segment. Thank you very much, Beatrice and Elizabeth, for the very insightful information you have shared with us today. I believe our audience have learned. They are more than inspired to apply for the Bank of America program, and particularly for the operations and business enablement pillar. Right, so to our audience, please apply, put forward your application as early as possible. Probably just in a few minutes, I can also run you through the application process so you know what we expect of you and what you should be doing. All right. So what are the stages for the application process? So to start with, you must apply. That's the initial stage before you get into the program. So you must have applied. And then once you apply and you qualify, you take an aptitude and a technical test. After which, if you pass from that stage, we'll review your application. After which, you have interviews. So for the person who was talking about interviews, that is where your answer is. So you have interviews after the application review stage. And once you are selected after the interview process, then you get into the corporate immersion stage. So basically, the corporate immersion is more of a training that is offered to selected candidates. And at the end, the shortlisted candidates get to meet with the Bank of America team here in Accra, Ghana, sometime in August this year. Right. So basically, that is it for the application process. And like I said, applications are on a rolling basis. So the earlier you apply, the higher the chances of you being considered for the rest of the processes. So please apply early. I'm not sure if the application is in the chat, but David, if the application is not in the chat, you may please put it in the chat. So those who do not, have the link, they can access it soon. And alternatively, you
Yes,
can also.
Sheikha, the application link is in the chat. So
All right.
everybody that's interested should just go to the chat. They'll have the link in there and they can apply.
Very well. Very well. Thank you. Yes. So if you also want more insight on CV writing for the person who was asking about CV and also interview guidance, you can check our YouTube channel. There's a lot of information there to guide you on those aspects. All right. This brings us to the end of the session. Thank you very much once again, Beatrice and Elizabeth, for joining us today. We are more than happy and inspired to apply. Yes, thank you. And to our audience, please apply. Like I said, you never know. One day you could be an Elizabeth or a Beatrice sharing your experience in a session like this. Right. So thank you very much, everyone. This brings us to the end of the session. Enjoy your evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.